Do you want to build your dream home in Aledo? Well, the first step is picking that perfect lot and picking that perfect neighborhood. So in this video, I'm going to cover the top 4 neighborhoods that you should be considering if you want to buy your own lot to build your own dream home. Now, if this is your first time on the channel, my name is Jared with Living in Aledo, and I frequently get questions from people who are thinking about building, or maybe all of their experience in the past has always been building their own home. And they are thinking about doing that in the Aledo area, but maybe it's been 10 or 15 years since they've done that. And when it comes right down to it, not everyone chooses to actually do that for a variety of reasons. I do have a couple of videos on things that you need to know if you are considering building your own home. So check those out. But this video is going to be on the best neighborhoods to look at if you are thinking about doing that. The top 4 neighborhoods to buy your own lot. So if this is something that you're excited about, you're thinking of moving to the area, hit that subscribe button. And as you're watching this video, put in the comment section, what's important to you or what you're looking for or which of these neighborhoods you think fits you best. And make sure you stick around to the end of the video because I'm gonna have 2 honorable mentions at the very end. Okay, so first up on the list is probably the neighborhood that gets the most initial interest. And I don't mean that in a negative way, like, oh, people are interested, then they find out about it, they run off somewhere else. It generates a lot of interest because of what's offered, and that's gonna be Bear Creek Ranch. So Bear Creek Ranch has a ton of lots available. If you go on like Zillow or Realtor or whatever MLS portal you're using, you are gonna see just a ton of land lots available. While the other neighborhoods I'm gonna mention probably have a fair amount available, a lot of them are not putting them all on the MLS. You have to go directly to the developer, or you have to go to they're just not offering them out there, probably because they don't want people to feel like there's an overabundance. But with Bear Creek, they basically just have them all listed. I say all, a lot listed. And Bear Creek's great. It is a gated community, and it's kind of unique because there aren't a lot of gated communities where you can get homes in the 700s, right? So that's kind of the low end of like the available homes, but we're talking about lots today. So what's available when it comes to lots? So Bear Creek's gonna have lots that are anywhere from 2 all the way up to, there was one that was like 7 acres. So a pretty good variety. Most of them are gonna be in the 2 to 3 acre size. And then one, it's gated. There are some good hilltop views. There's some great lots that back up to a creek. I think most of those are already sold, but that's kind of one of the things they advertise is creek view lots. Well, all those have sold basically, but there are some good ones like on hill. You do get some nice spread out views. There's going to be no city taxes. So you got well and septic. You probably have propane on most of the homes. One slight negative is probably going to be that it's Tri-County electric. And I don't want to bash on Tri-County, but it just means that you only have one option to get electric from, and that's Tri-County. I always like more than one option. Just like my last video where, Rolling Creek Ranch has only one builder you can choose from. It's not that I dislike the builder, it's just that I like to have more options. So same thing with Tri-County. When I've looked at rates, they are marginally a little bit more expensive than what I'm able to get when I get to shop my own rate. So that would be a slight negative, not a huge deal. You can build with any builder you want. So again, any custom builder is fine. You just have to follow like the community build guidelines, minimums, setbacks, construction, stuff like that. Not a big deal. Many lots are available, might be a more clear way of saying that. Your HOA is gonna be a little higher than a lot of other HOAs because there's multiple gates, which means the roads are private. You're gonna have, power. You do have kind of like this little pavilion where you have all your mailboxes and stuff at the entrance. So HOA is gonna be like $1,500 a year, but you're outside city limits. So you have like a 1.8% tax rate. You're gonna feed into Stewart Elementary, which even though it's the closest elementary, it's gonna take you a little bit to get to because you're off Bear Creek. That's gonna be the biggest negative for me. And I think that is why sometimes people lose interest, right? Like I have had a client recently, like they really liked the home. We were trying to negotiate with the builder. The builder was not very negotiable and they decided to buy in a different neighborhood. Now, if we'd been able to get a deal that they were comfortable with, they would have bought in Bear Creek and they would have been fine with that drive. But that location inconvenience, that's what I'm going to call it, is a detrimental factor, not the biggest deal, but that sometimes dissuades people from moving forward. So I just tell people, hey, map it. Just make sure you understand that's going to be a benefit of like coming down, taking a look, and driving to the neighborhood and then driving wherever you want to go. So you get to see, okay, am I comfortable with this? Some people don't mind a 30, 40 minute commute. Like maybe they're already driving an hour. They're going to move to Aledo. They're going to work in Fort Worth now, and 30, 40 minutes is no big deal. So that is something to consider. I do really like the neighborhood feel. Like there is a lot of like, hills and windy like roads, and it's just not like a straight flat neighborhood. Now, some of the original phases, I think they're in like phase 3 right now, like phase 1 and phase 2, they had a fair amount of more mature trees than phase 3 does. Phase 3 feels a little bit more like kind of like a rolling pasture land with mesquite trees. So most of the trees on the lots that you're looking at this point are going to be mesquite. And that's not all of them. Like there's still some good lots available. It's still worth looking at. Maybe you don't care about trees, but there were some beautiful lots in phase 1. And I think they did that for a reason. That was the most desirable lots. There are some good hilltop, good view lots. There's lots of wind. It's always windy out there on the hills. So that is something to think about. But those are going to be my personal thoughts on the neighborhood. I really like the neighborhood design, the feel, the style. I don't love the location. So up next, we're going to have another neighborhood that does have a lot of mature trees, that's going to have kind of another detrimental location factor to it, but it's going to be a little higher end, also gated, and a great luxury neighborhood. Okay, so number 2 on the list is going to be Aledo Bluffs, and you might have been introduced to this on my last video where I was sharing, 5 neighborhoods you might have never heard of where you could get new construction. So not only can you get new construction, but they also have available lots here in Aledo Bluffs. Last time I looked, as of like recording this video, there was like 3 available lots you could choose from that were being advertised for sale. When I went through there's definitely more than that that are potentially purchasable, but they're just not on the MLS. So that'd be something if you were considering, there might be more availability than what you see publicly. And you're gonna get about 2 acres, right? There's not too many that are much more than 2 acres, but everything is a minimum of 2 acres. So you're probably looking at 2.3 to 2.8, maybe 2.5 acres on average, something like that. I think like one was a little bit larger that sold. So that's gonna be a good option for you, especially if you want a private gated community. So this is one of the few gated communities that is going to have kind of a higher end luxury feel and lots that you can purchase, right? So that's something to think about. And the HOA is super, super reasonable. The HOA is only gonna be like $750 a year, which is actually kind of on the low end for a gated community. So it is going to be north of 20. It's going to be off White Settlement Road. You're going to go 3325 to White Settlement. You're going to loop around. And so that is kind of be one of the, in my opinions, kind of a downside is you're kind of like way north Aledo. Whereas kind of one of the downsides of Bear Creek is you're like way south Aledo. Both of them are going to be kind of a pain to do like Aledo centric stuff, or if you have kids in high school, maybe they're 9th grader, 10th grader, you're having to drop them off. That's going to be a little bit of a pain, especially if maybe you work in Fort Worth. So if you work from home, it's still going to be a pretty decent drive, but that's the biggest negative for me when I think about Aledo Bluffs is that it's just like way north Aledo ISD. You can build with custom builders over here. There are some good builders already building that would be easy to work with. Like my last video said, Ryan Henning with Henning Custom Homes is great. You have Skytop, Cross Custom Homes, you have MK. You could pick your own as well, but those are some specifically. I know Henning and I know MK, both great people to work with. So definitely would recommend considering them if you are looking for, to build on your own lot in something like Aledo Bluffs. So pros and cons, already said, kind of a con is way north. Pro is really, you get this private gated feel. You really do feel like you're out in the country. You really feel like you're away from kind of the city and all the urban stuff. You feel like this feels a lot more rural than some of the stuff that you're gonna be looking at or considering. But then if you wanna do the shopping or you need to go to the grocery store, really the closest stuff is going to be down White Settlement Road, like in the Fort Worth area. So not that that's kind of a negative for me, but if you're able to do your shopping once a week, you're not having to go and go to the store 4 times a week, like seems like we do a lot of times. You just make sure you go where you want on the day you want to do it, and you're not worried about all that. So I do like Aledo Bluffs. It is like, I do want people to know it is kind of on the far northern edge of Aledo ISD. That's what I would say would be the biggest negative. But if you are looking to be further out, that's not a negative at all. So if this information has been helpful, if you are looking for your own lot or you're looking to move to the Aledo area, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you reach out, especially if you have a trip planned or you have specific job requirements and you need to get here by a certain time. Let's get a conversation started. Let me get some time on my calendar for you, whether that's just a conversation that we can have, or if you want to, come out here for a couple days and we can see everything you want to see, take a look, figure out what's going to be best for you and your family. I love to help people make that transition as smooth as it possibly can be. So let's keep going with the next couple of neighborhoods. Okay, so number 3 on the list is really, it's kind of been Aledo's premier luxury community for years. And you've definitely heard me talk about it if you're on the channel anytime. And if you have watched Landman, you would have seen some clips taken in this neighborhood, which is La Madera. So that's going to be on like the southern central edge of the U that FM5 and 1187 makes. So relatively convenient, not too terribly far off the highway. It's about as far off the highway as you can get unless you're going down to Bear Creek Road or down Kelly Road, like Kelly Ranch and Rio Vista, that area. But it's not that far. So that's great. The location is fine. I don't view it as a negative, but it's also not a positive. You are going to have larger than average lot sizes kind of across the board, really at the bare minimum 2, which is kind of the minimum you need for private well and septic, which is what you get out here. Really, there's a lot of 3-4 acre tracts, and the neighborhood has been developed for a number of years. However, we are in the last phase of La Madera. So the lots that are available now are the last lots. If you want to buy a lot, build your own custom home, that's going to be the last options. And those lots are not all available on the MLS. There's really only one currently available on the MLS. So if you want a lot and you want to know what's available, reach out to me directly. I actually have kind of the lot availability map, like the plat map from the developer. I have the developer sell and get updates on those. I've taken multiple people out there to take a look at lots and see what might work for them. So La Madera is great, high-end, luxury. There is a gate. There's still so much construction going on that the gate is oftentimes left open during the day. You can use any custom builder you want as long as you follow like the community like construction guidelines. But there are some night custom homes. They build good homes out there. MK Homes, they built some good custom homes out there. They built some spec homes as well. There's a lot of good builders you could choose from. There's a couple that might, night custom homes, they may have a model as well. I know John Askew does because there's a big sign. I've been in there and everything. And then night custom, they may have put one out there as well. So good builders, and those builders that like MK, they may have, models somewhere else. So good builders, you can do whatever you want. You can build these custom homes. There's lots of variety. I've seen like Mediterranean style. I've seen more modern style. I've seen contemporary. So as long as you're following their general guidelines, you can do a fully custom home. Now in phase 7, I would recommend, if this is something you're interested in, I don't know when you're going to be watching this video, but reach out sooner rather than later because some of these lots are significantly more desirable than other lots. And a lot of the most desirable ones have already been sold, but there are some lots that have like power lines that run through them. They're not the high voltage ones, but they are power lines that run through, that kind of like cut through the corner of the neighborhood. So those would be less desirable lots in my opinion for most people. So that's something to think about. The lot prices right now are between $240,000 and $400,000 with a couple above and below that. So, I think there was like a 6-acre parcel that was, definitely a lot more than 400 grand. So that's something to think about. Do you want like this big estate style feel, or, is 2-3 acres going to be good for you? HOA is going to be on the more expensive end of the spectrum, but it is a higher end community. So that's $2,500 a year, but that's really going to go to the gates and the lights in the neighborhood and potentially like maintaining the roads, because there is not like a community center. There's not a neighborhood pool. Almost everyone out there has a pool because they can afford it. So that's something to think about as well. So personal thoughts on La Madera. It's always a great community to consider if you're looking in that price range. If you are thinking that your final finished product home is going to be in the 1.2 to 2.5, La Madera is an option for you, right? Because you can, there's homes that are, their minimum size maybe in the mid 3,000 square feet range, maybe close to 4. I don't remember exactly the last time I looked at it. But if you're going to build a 3,500 square foot home, you might be on the lower end of that. But you could also build a 6,000 square foot home and still not worry about overbuilding for the values in the neighborhood, as long as you're building to the correct quality. So that's one I would say to consider. And next up on the list is going to be a new high-end luxury community that you may have heard me mention in a prior video. Okay, number 4 and last on my list of best neighborhoods to buy your own lot in will sound familiar if you just watched my, top 5 neighborhoods you never heard of, or new construction neighborhoods you've never heard of, because this is Summit Ranch again. So there are new construction builders you can buy from, high-end stuff, but you can also buy your own lots. So those lots are going to be plus or minus $300,000. They're going to be about 2.5 acres. And it's gonna be like a $500 a year HOA, so not bad at all. The average home values in there are gonna be pretty high, like mid 1.5s, like 1.5 million plus or minus. Benefits is you are outside city limits, you get private well and septic, you can have propane, you have no city taxes, so you get a 1.8% tax rate, and it's a super convenient location. So if you exit FM5 and you go down and you go to south on FM5 from I-20, you're going to go straight down. You're going to go past Manila Elementary, which is where this neighborhood feeds into, before it bends and really turns east to head back towards like Aledo downtown area. Your road jets off west. You're gonna go maybe 200 yards. You're gonna hit Savage, and it's right there at that corner. And this is actually how you get to Bear Creek Road. So for anything off Bear Creek, you're gonna drive right past Summit Ranch, and you're gonna see it every time. Why didn't I buy in Summit Ranch? It would have been so much closer. But really, it could probably price point. That's the difference. It's one of the things I like is the convenience of the location. You are gonna get a really nice, it's gonna be a tighter knit community because there's gonna be a lot less homeowners in that neighborhood, right? So that's gonna be good. Negatives on this one: not gated, if that's what you're looking for, not gated. And it's also in the very early stages of development. So you're gonna have, there's, maybe, I'm trying to remember how many there were, maybe 6 or 7 homes under construction last I went out there. So you're gonna have development going on for a little while. But if you get in with a good builder, you build a really nice home, that could be a good way to, maintain your values or see that appreciation rise over the next year or 2. I would expect, depending on the market, might slow it down a little bit, but if interest rates drop a little bit, it'll pick up, I think, and the neighborhood will go pretty quick. So that's gonna be number 4, and stick around because I have a couple of honorable mentions. Okay, so to round this list off and to finish the video, I have 2 honorable mentions that I'm going to cover very quickly. So we have Bella Crossing, which if you're unfamiliar with the Bella neighborhoods, check out my video on the Bella neighborhood specifically. But Bella Crossing is the newest section of the Bella Flora neighborhoods, and they're still building new construction. There are lots available. So there are a fair amount of lots that you could potentially get depending on what's currently being offered. Downside of Bella Crossing is a small percentage of it is Aledo ISD, maybe 30%, maybe less. So if the ISD is important to you, then that's going to be a top concern when you're looking at lots. There's probably going to be a price difference as well. You're going to have some bigger lots. You're going to have some rolling hills. So that's going to be, a good one to keep an eye on, but really didn't make my list of top ones to look at. And then the second honorable mention, which I think would be this would be my dream situation at some point, would be finding an older, developed, nice neighborhood that still had a lot that had not sold for one reason or another, and seeing if that worked for what you wanted. So my neighborhood, McDavid Estates, was developed in the late 90s, early 2000s. My home is a 99. And we actually have someone building a brand new home. There was a lot that hadn't been sold. Now it was not a premium lot, right? It's an acre, but not all the acre is usable. It kind of sits on a cul-de-sac, which is nice, but there's a pretty steep drop off pretty quickly. So they're not gonna have a huge backyard. They do have kind of like a driveway that goes down off the cul-de-sac into the home. And so they're not getting an acre of usable space. So that would be a downside for a situation like that. I saw another neighborhood that's similar to mine where a 1 acre lot got sold. And the nice thing about these older neighborhoods is that you can still do that well and septic on less than 2 acres if the neighborhood was developed that way. Now, you're still basically paying 200 grand for a buildable lot in the Aledo area for well and septic. You can get a 2-acre lot in some of the new construction areas for $200,000, or if you find one in a neighborhood like mine or similar, that lot's still probably going to run you 200 grand, even though it's only maybe 1 to 1.5 acres. So that would be something super cool. You can get into an established neighborhood. You're probably gonna have a lot more mature trees. You're gonna have a very different feel, but the likelihood of finding that is so low that it is not one of the top things you should be considering. If you stumbled across it, very cool. But then as you are looking for land to build, as I've mentioned in some of my other videos, if you find a really smoking deal on land in the Aledo area, maybe it's outside of a neighborhood, and you think that price is awesome, I should jump on it. An awesome price on a buildable lot probably means there's something wrong with it. Oftentimes it's a flood zone. That's my very first question. I had a client looking for stuff like this, and the first 7 he sent me, because of the price point that he thought was great, they were all either entirely or partially in flood zones that made the lots very hard to use, very hard to build on. So those are my 2 honorable mentions. One, because it is not entirely Aledo ISD. The other, because it is very uncommon to get that. But if you found that hidden gem, you're gonna pay for it, but it could be a great option and a really cool place to build a new home. Now, if you are considering buying a lot and building your own home, you can get exactly what you want. But I think it is important to note that in the market we are currently in, you are typically not building a home on your own and building it for less than what you could buy it for. So the conversation I've had with a lot of clients is, if you want to build your own home, that's great, but you are going to pay a premium to get exactly what you want, because builders are not going to cut you big deals if they're working for you and building the home and building it to your specifications. Where you're gonna get good deals is when a builder has built a spec home and it's been sitting, and you can negotiate and basically you eat into their profit margin, right? Where they're just not gonna be that negotiable. If you wanna build a home, they might just say, hey, yeah, we're gonna do it for cost plus X%. So you do whatever you want. They're gonna get a profit margin on top of what you build from what you choose to select in your design. So that's something important to note. Years ago, it was like you could build a home, and you could build a home, maybe you spent $800,000 on it, but it was worth $900 when you were done. In the market we're in, I'm not really seeing that anymore. Sometimes maybe it's still worth what you paid, but you paid a premium for it, right? Like you're not creating any equity by building your own home in this current market, with construction prices the way they are, with tariffs the way they are, with the way the lumber's been jacked up, all that stuff. But if you have the money and you want what you want, this is the best way to do it. So if you are considering a move to the Aledo area and you want to build, especially if you want to build that custom home, you need to pick that custom lot. So you need to be out here, you need to come see it, you need to come lay your eyes on it. So reach out, let's get some time on the books. Let me set some time aside on my calendar, and happy to take you around when you come in town and check out these lots, give you feedback, make sure there's not a power line sitting in your backyard, right? You don't want to spend it in $1 million on your dream home, have a power line running across the top of it. So reach out, let me know, happy to help. See you next time.